This is Umar Ahmed for IFLC. We're proudly sponsored by Everlast. Frank Warren is back in the UK. Made it back in one piece from Vegas.
Just about, Umar. Just about. I mean, it's been a hectic week. I mean, it's been hectic for us. Can you imagine what it's like for Tyson, the guy in the ring doing all the, and also Wilder doing the business.
Well, we'll dissect the fight in a second, but you've promoted some of the greats in British and world boxing. Obviously, Naz comes to mind, Calzaghe, Hatton. Where does Tyson Fury rank in that list for you, Frank?
I think his achievements, he's now, without a doubt, the best. Without a doubt. And, you know, I've gone on saying about various fighters who could have done better, who've done really well. Joe Calzaghe, all of them done magnificently well. But I've got to say, Tyson, he's done it in the other guys' backyards. You know, it's not even like he had home advantage or anything. You know, 3 fights with Wilder in the States, plus another couple of fights he did there. And you think even going when he went and fought Klitschko in Germany. So for somebody to travel and do that first fight with Wilder and certainly the fight in Germany with Klitschko, they were hostile crowds, and he's done tremendously well. And that heavyweight fight is the best heavyweight I've seen live.
So in your mind, Tyson Fury is the best fighter you promoted?
Yeah, and if he carries on boxing, who knows where he's going to go. But those performances, that fight on Saturday was epic. And, you know, what he did, and I watched it back when I got back yesterday. I watched it back, and what he did in that fight was unbelievable. You know, the skills, the heart, the rawness of it, you know, the courage. And you know what made it an epic fight? Wilder, because he come to fight. He put everything on the line. I mean, even those last couple of rounds when Tyson was really on top, he still, from instinct, was throwing those big bombs that he does. Still a dangerous sod all the way to the end. And it was what I said. I felt that if Wilder came out, which what did come out, you know, to looking for the bombs to throw, that it would be a shootout, and I thought Tyson would prevail, but I thought it would be much shorter than that. And the fact it went on to the 11th round is testament to Wilder and to Tyson, who got caught himself and went down a couple of times in the fight.
I don't think I've ever seen Wilder go to the body as much as he did in the first round. Obviously, he didn't keep that up, but what did you make of Wilder's approach?
Well, that was a smart move, and he did that because he was obviously hoping that Tyson was going to drop his hands so he could whiz over his right hand. That's what he was looking for. He was looking to throw that big punch, and Malik Scott actually, if they were his tactics as his trainer, he did well. I mean, they were good tactics. Malik did well. I'm not knocking Mark Brilliant because he's an excellent trainer too, but Malik Scott did well, but so did Sugar. He done a brilliant job for Tyson too, and he was screaming at Tyson during the fight, you know, use your jab, because he stopped using his jab, and he bollocked him over that. So it was it was an amazing fight. I don't care, you know, if you don't like Tyson Fury and if you don't like me and you've got an opinion because of that, put it all to one side and watch that back, because if that's not one of the greatest fights, then I don't know what is. It was a marvellous fight.
And of course, after that third round, I think everyone sat in the arena, everyone watching on BT Sport Box Office thought that was that.
That's
Tyson.
what I thought he'll stop him now, as I said before the fight. But you know, that's big. That's big. He's dangerous. You know, I kept saying he's a dangerous side. He can pull those punches out, and he did it in the fourth round. It was amazing. And that was a 10-7 round because of the 2 knockdowns. So going into the fifth, it was even. I thought he nicked the first round. Wilder. I thought Tyson won the second. He got the 10-8 round in the third round, and then the 10-7 was given to Wilder. So it was pretty even going into that. So it was then onwards. I thought Tyson then started to control the fight.
Frank, the first shot that dropped Fury was a massive overhand right from Deontay Wilder. How many people do you think in world boxing could actually get up from that now? Well,
how many people have got up from the overhand right shots that he's thrown in the past? No one.
Just Tyson.
Only Tyson. I mean, he is statistically the hardest punching heavyweight in the last 40 odd years, and he is. There's no doubt about that. And that's what he did. That's what he's done. He's blasted everybody out. You know. He's very, very dangerous. Now I don't know what that fight will have taken a lot out of him though. it will have taken a lot out of him, and it'd be interesting to see what he does now.
Definitely. And then, of course, Fury getting dropped for a second time in the same round. What was going through your mind?
Well, exactly what it was. You know, Tyson's smart though. If you watch him, he's a very smart guy. He takes the count, gets himself, his mind right, and gets back up. And what was surprised, he went down again. He got clipped again in that fight, and then you're thinking, you only got to get clipped once more, it's all over. So he did extremely well, and he came through the fight. He's a smart fighter, Tyson. He's a very, very clever man. Gets his tactics right. I mean, you look at that fight, and then you look at him when he fought Klitschko. And somebody said, I was reading, somebody said yesterday about the fight wasn't technically great. But when he was technically great against Klitschko, he got criticism for it. But he went and done what he had to do, because what he is, he's an adaptable, smart fighter. You know, he can box you, he can stand up, he can be on the back foot, he can be on the front foot. He's a phenomenal fighter, and he does what's necessary to win fights. He does what he needs to. And one thing they can't say about him, he's not a puncher. He hurt him, didn't he? And he's got a good. He's got a good chin as well. Wilder, he took some good shots, but he hurt him. And a couple of those punches, I don't know how he got up from them.
I know Tyson's always got up from them punches, and whenever he's been put down. But don't tell me that you and George, your son, weren't panicking a little bit.
Well, of course we were. I mean, he goes down. We're with him. I mean, we don't. And it is a line, but he does have the wherewithal about him. You can see him as he gets up and what he does, and obviously he was looking for the finish, Wilder, but he kept him off and done what he had to do, and then came back out the next round and took command.
And from that point onwards, really, you could see that Wilder was really jaded. It looked like at any point Tyson was going to get him out there, but Deontay just kept fighting on and on and on.
Well, he did, but I think for Deontay, I think the fact Tyson takes his shots. There's 4 times he's been down in the 2 fights, but he's taken the shots and got up. And that must be, when you are the puncher that he is, you're a phenomenal puncher, that must be a bit, bring you down. It's a bit heartbreaking. I've hit him with my best shot, and he's still got up. And it's that must take a bit out of you. But to his credit, he carried on and he tried and did what he had to do. I was really disappointed at the end that when Tyson went over, because these guys now, they've had 3 fights. They've had a trilogy of fights. And for him to go over to him at the end and Tyson say, look, come on, this is great. And the way he behaved, I was really disappointed. To say he's a bad loser is an understatement.
They've given each other so much over this amazing trilogy. Do you think one day Tyson and Deontay can become friends?
Who knows? I hope they can. But, he's got... From Deontay's perspective, he should be thinking to himself, look, I've done what I had to do. I was world champion for 6 years. I was the dominant heavyweight for 6 years. And, my legacy is that. Plus, I've been involved in 3 spectacular fights, because they've all been great fights. Every one of those fights have been absorbing classic fights. They've all been different. Mm-hmm. All been different. Brilliant fights. And the last one, normally you get those. The Ali Frazier, one of the fights wasn't so good. And the other 2 were just outstanding fights. Unbelievable fights. But you look at that and you think to yourself, these guys, they just make a great fight together every time. Every time. If you were saying that they were going to fight again next, you'd buy tickets for it, because you're going to get a fight out of the 2 of them.
Absolutely, because you put Deontay Wilder in with anyone and he's always live.
Yeah.
Frank, obviously, you brought him back when he was 27 stone. You had the confidence to put his signature and exchange contracts, do the deal, etc. He's one of the first ones on BT, if I'm right in saying as well, Tyson. So that must give you a lot of joy when a lot of people were writing Tyson off. You trusted in his signature.
Well, I did. I've always liked Tyson, and but more importantly, it was good for him, and it was good for me. It worked for me, and it worked for him, and it worked for BT. We've gone in there. When I went to BT, I said, 3-4 years, we will be the dominant. We will have the best boxers, and we have. We've got the best heavyweight on the planet. bar none. So what we set out to do, we've done. With Tyson, it's been a, when you see a guy and you look at that weight, you can lose weight. We all know you can do that. Being out the ring for 3 years, that's a long time. If you look at the last 7 years, I think he's been inactive for 5 of them, with the COVID and everything. And you think to yourself, can he do it? I knew he could do it. I knew he could do it because by talking, actually when you're one-on-one and you're talking about it, you can see the desire. And you could see that he found himself again after all the problems. He really did find himself, in as much that, he felt that, what was going to be his salvation, which was going to help him get better and come through all the problems he had, was boxing. And so it was to be. And he's got totally, he's got totally sort of mindset now. When, and I can think back to the past in between fights, he'd blow up. Doesn't now. He's in the gym, he keeps himself well, and he's in excellent condition. He's got everything you need. He's nigh on a perfect boxer, if not, because he's got a natural inborn stamina. You can't, it's very difficult to get stamina. This guy's got stamina when he doesn't even look in condition. He's done it in fights. He's got natural stamina. He's got great hand speed, footwork, a massively great chin. Gets caught, comes up. He's got a fantastic jab. He can punch, and most importantly, he's got a great boxing brain and a will to win. It's never say die with him. That's what it is with him. So he ticks every single box, and he's an outstanding performer, and he is the best of his generation, without a doubt, best of his generation. And for me, in any generation, he would be there with them. I think about, because you've got to remember, he's 6'9", tremendous reach, speed that he's got. And you look back to the, all the great fighters that I've seen when I grew up. You go through the Allys, Foreman's, Frazier. He's physically and massively bigger than them. Maybe Big George, he's about the same, but he's got better stamina than George Foreman's got. As we see when he fought Ali, he run out of gas. He's got a great boxing brain. Him and Ali would have been the smaller guy, slightly smaller because as he got older he matured. But Ali's best. Ali was not a massive puncher, and they're both great boxers. And can you imagine that fight? I mean, that would have been a brilliant fight if you could, one of those dream matches you could put together. But the bottom line out of it, could you imagine the press conferences? Oh, that'd have been, you would have paid to go and see that. Imagine those two guys getting at it in a press conference. It would have been the best fun ever. But, you can only be the best you can only beat the best, you can only be the best of your era. And without a doubt, he is the best of his era. And there's still light in the tank. As I said, he's only been active for 2 out of the last 7 years.
Frank, just out of interest, when he was 3 years out the ring, drink abuse, drug abuse, at that massive weight, and you were saying to BT, I want to bring him, I want to sign him, were there people telling you, what were you doing?
There was a couple of people, but at the end of the day, it was a decision. Look, he's decided he's going to fight. He was going to fight. I wanted to. And between us, we wanted to do it, and I made my mind up that I will deliver that, and that's what we did. He came into BT with me. We went in there together. It was a very entertaining meeting.
And of course, after the Seferi fight, there was even more doubts after that about can Tyson actually do anything. It was great to see him back, but people were really doubting. And I remember in Belfast, we were there for the Pianetta fight, which was a much better performance. But still, everyone was saying, he's not going to beat Wilder. And if you go back to the first fight in LA, I think, apart from yourself and Tyson's team, everyone was writing him off.
Well, I wanted to fight. I pushed for it. I spoke to Tyson, and I was the one who pushed for it. I really did push for the fight because I felt, number one, that they would underestimate him because of, as you just said, the performances and the weight. But I just felt, if you're going to do this, do it now. And I'd sort of really studied Deontay and looked at his style, and I thought Tyson can outbox him. I weren't talking about knockouts now, but I thought he can definitely outbox him at that stage, and he did. He got robbed really, didn't he? He went down, but he did outbox him. However, one thing about Tyson, didn't bitch, didn't moan, didn't cry, wasn't a crybaby after the event, got on with it.
Yeah. From that moment, where the contracts were signed for the first Wilder fight, did you ever think 3 years on later we'd be talking about one of the best trilogies ever?
No, absolutely not. No, I didn't, and but it was. I mean, a lot of people again were thinking it was not going to be a, it was going to be, they didn't think there was going to be much of a fight, but it bloody was. And you've got to take your hat off, I said, to Wilder, because Wilder did what a champion does. He gives his all, give everything, went out there and done what you had to do. That's what you do if you want it.
Well, we had Malik Scott on the channel the day after, and I think he summed it up really well. He said Wilder was great, but Fury was greater.
Yeah, and that's the truth. Yeah. That's the truth.
Yeah. Frank, has there been any indication about how it performed on BT Sport Box Office?
I haven't got the numbers yet, but the indications are it's done extremely well, and they're talking about big numbers in the States too. And we did well at the gate. There was the venue was nigh on full, and had we had the Brits coming over, there'd have been an overspill. It's a shame there weren't Brits there, but the atmosphere was fabulous. I would say 70% of the audience got behind Tyson, so he's won over the Americans. He's gone out there and won them over. He's gone into the other guy's backyard and come away with the fans.
Was Bob pleased?
Oh, he was great. Yeah, I mean, we had a bit of fun out there, and he was. When the fight was over, we were going around. I watched him jump up, and it was great to see it. It was great to see it, and it was good for everybody. It was such a real feel-good moment for the team, and especially for Tyson. So,
of course, at that point, you're not thinking what's next. You're enjoying the moment. Have you given a little bit of thought on that plane journey back?
Yeah, look, I spoke to Tyson yesterday. I spoke to him obviously the last few days, and at the end of the day, all he wants to do now is to go and get some time out. He's been in constant training. What with COVID, what with the arbitration, times out, and the unfortunate problems he had with his newborn daughter, Athena. So now he just needs to relax and be with his family. He's been training constantly. So, I think they're coming back today or tomorrow. So when him and Paris come back, they'll spend time with their family. No rush for anything, and we'll do whatever Tyson wants to do. I mean, he's the boss in this, isn't he? He's the guy who, at the end of the day, he's the one who's, from his perspective, will decide, what he wants to do. He's got a number of options, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, I saw a lot of reporters after the fight asking you and Bob, what's going to happen next to Tyson? And as you said, he will decide, and you've got to deliver it for him. That's how it works.
That's how it works. Look, we're his promoters. All I know is we're his promoters, and between us as a team, we'll work it out. I mean, obviously, I'd like him to fight here in the UK. It'd be nice for him to come back and fight here, but it depends who. But none of those decisions are going to be made until it'll be Tyson who decides what he wants to do.
Absolutely. Well, of course, I will ask you about October 30th, as the WBC have said that they will order Dylan, if he wins that fight, to box for the WBC title. Obviously, if Otto Warren wins, we understand there's a rematch clause, so that extends it further. Let me ask you about that fight. We were both in Vegas when Tyson had one of his hardest fights against Otto Warren.
Yeah, he did, and Warren done very well. But however, he was really hampered by a bad cut. And I've got to be honest, the referee, I was more worried that the referee was going to stop that fight. But he did well, Warren, and then eventually Tyson did what he had to do, but he won the fight. But look, Dillian Whyte's going to have his hands full with him because he knows what's on the line. So let's see what happens when he comes through, and then we'll see what the WBC say. And then once they make their decision, then Tyson will obviously consider what he wants to do.
Mm. But Tyson's picking Otto Warren in that fight against Dillian.
I think it's a tough fight. I think it's a tough fight for Dillian Whyte. As regarding, Dillian, look, if I don't know whether he's with Matchroom or not. If he's with Matchroom, then they need to pick up the phone and not say they need. After the fight, we'll talk, depending who wins. And if he's a free agent, then we'll speak direct with Dillian, however it is. But it's a big fight. It will be a big fight if it's in the UK because of obviously the pay-per-view numbers. They'll be huge.
Mm. Also, we've got that situation with Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua, and it looks like that rematch will happen because the clause has been triggered. However, of course, there was a lot of talk about when Fury and Joshua fell through because of this arbitration with Wilder. There was a lot of people saying, why don't you get Wilder to step aside? Well, thank God he didn't, by the way, because we got one of the best fights ever. But yeah, step aside and make Fury Joshua. So is there going to be a potential move from you guys to say, can Joshua step aside and we fight Usyk?
I've got to think. I think really that's something for the other side to sort out. That's for them to sort. I mean, if he did step aside, theoretically, if that happened, then maybe the winner of them fights, the winner, which I believe would be Tyson, then fights Joshua. I don't know. I mean, that be the one thing the WBC have said is that if we can get a unification on, then do it. The only thing stopping that from happening is the fact that they've got this rematch clause, and the only one who can stop the rematch is Anthony Joshua.
But if he takes it, he takes it, doesn't it? So.
He takes it. I mean, if I was Anthony Joshua, to be quite honest, irrespective of what we would like, I would sort of think about taking that fight. I would be try and get a couple more, or at least get another fight under my belt before I go for that, because that is a tough fight for him, a tough fight. He'll be spurred on Usyk by the last one, and I think he'll be thinking to himself, you know what, if I'd have really stepped it up, I could have stopped. He nearly stopped him in the last round. They were about to throw the towel in. So if that's, that could happen, but you know what, that's all their business for them to get on with, and we're focused on where we are, and at the moment, Tyson is the standout heavyweight at the moment, and the standout heavyweight of his generation.
I know Alex Krasik was out there in Vegas. Do you have any conversations with him?
No, I didn't. We didn't get around, but I know there has been a conversation, but I don't want to go into that.
Okay. So in terms of the overall heavyweight picture, of course you've got Joe Joyce waiting with the WBO. You've got Daniel Dubois in a strong position with the WBA and obviously WBC. We don't even have to say. Yeah. And then obviously the IBF, Alexander Usyk holds all the belts there. But you've got in the WBA and WBA, you've got a strong position there with both guys.
Well, we have. Again, it's what we've built up over the last few years. We've built something. Look at those heavyweights. You've got the other. Britain is in a great position. Yeah. You've got these other two guys. Who are the next fellas. Really, you've got a very young guy in Daniel Dubois, ranked number 1 by the BA, and then you've got in the BO, you've got Joe, who hopefully will get his gold medal, having got robbed of that, according to that report on the Olympics.
Any updates on that?
No, I've not heard anything. But but you got Joe there. So I mean, Joe's he's a tremendous competitor. Good fight. We're in good shape. That's without the other couple of young heavyweights we've got coming through. So we're in a good spot, and I'm pleased where we're at. We've done everything we said we'd do, and I think we've beavered away. We don't shout as much as a lot of people do, but we just carried on with our business, and at the end of the day, we've delivered. So and that's without all our other, really good young fighters on the books. We've got some really good young fighters, and we had a good signing the weekend. So I'm really pleased with David's on board. And he's a competitor, so we did talk. I did talk to Bob about him, and maybe try and do something. So we're all we've got some good fights to be made.
We'll come on to Aberdeen in a second, but would you say the heavyweight division for yourself with Queensbury is the strongest one for yourself with Tyson Fury, Joe Joyce, and Daniel Dubois?
Without a doubt, no one else has got anything like that. These guys. We're not. The others are basically being recycled all the time. Okay,
Frank, just a last one on Fury Wilder 3. A bit of a strange one, I feel like I'm talking about this. So there was a weigh-in that Kogan uploaded from Vegas, and the clip has been put in the Mail Online yesterday. Accusations that Shane Fury, brother of Tyson Fury, used an anti-Semitic phrase or was saying something to Shelley Finkel. And if you listen to the clip, which you've done, I've done, many people have done, he's saying something else.
It's outrageous.
Do you want to just elaborate on that?
Well, I got back from the States yesterday, and obviously this thing sort of happened more or less for me, getting back from the airport and so forth and whatever. And I hadn't seen the clip at that stage, but when I got to see it, and I spoke with Tyson, I spoke with his lawyer, and between us, between Robert Davis and myself, it was like, what was the last? It was the last syllable, and it wasn't ish, it was less. And if you listen to it, and if you don't look at it, just turn it on and listen to it. He says, "You chinless piece of shite," whatever he said. He doesn't say what the story. That's something I think they wanted it to hear. That's somebody wanted to hear that, and they put the story up on the Mail, and I got in touch with the Mail, and eventually we got it taken down. Although what they call a cachet is still up there, and apparently that's up forever. So they've taken it down, and it was reported again in various other publications today, including some in America. So they've got a big problem because that's not what was said. Anybody just listen to it, and you know that's not what was said, and it's outrageous. I was there. Shane didn't say that, and he wasn't direct. Nothing was being directed towards Shelley Finkel. Shelley's a pal, and Tyson gets on all right with Shelley. That's a fact. You know, you heard that bit of banter on the stage when Shelley got on the stage and whispered something in his ear, and Tyson had a bit of fun with him on that. But that what is being said was not said at all. And say listen to it, and they've taken it, but they need to put their apologies up. All of them are going to have to apologise. And I would think, from Shane's perspective, if I was Shane, I'd be suing the arse off of all of them because it's a slam dunk because he didn't say it. And you know, and it's insult. You know, it's not right. It's not right to do this without even. It's like this. It's typical, isn't it? Here we have a great performance. Tyson come in, they're always looking for some crap.
What happened after the Klitschko one?
Yeah. Always looking for rubbish. Always looking to do something. You know, Tyson said himself in the past. You know, he's made some mistake. Muhammad Ali. And by the way, Shane didn't say this, but you know, when I keep referring to this, Muhammad Ali was voted the sports personality of the century by the BBC, by the British audience. This is the same guy, when I was a kid, said blacks shouldn't go with whites, the white man's the devil, parrots don't go with budgies, and all these sort of things. You know, but that's what he said at the time. But when he matured and he's an older man, he was a man of peace and love, and the most respected sportsman that lived. Everybody loved Muhammad Ali, except for Joe Frazier. Everybody loved him, and it's you know, and I don't like this. I think it's really wrong, and what they did was wrong. It was like, you know, oh, we've got him, we'll do him now, let's do him, and they include Tyson in it and so forth. Shane did not say that, and it was wrong, and they're going to have to do it. That you will see, there will be apologies up in all these newspapers.
And that is something that Shane would say, you chin this piece of whatever.
Well, he was directing it to his brother. Is it Marcellus?
Marcellus, yeah. And why would he be arguing with Shelley Finkel in the first place?
Well, he wasn't. I was there. I mean, it's not. I was there. I heard that, and if I'd have heard him say what they're alleged, I would have said something to him. But he didn't say that. There was a lot of swearing going on from both sides, and it got a little bit out of hand. But there was no racism there whatsoever.
Okay, that one's put to bed. Frank, of course, you had your show in Birmingham on the same night as Fury Wilder 3. A very controversial result. Brad Foster losing his titles to Jason Cunningham. Have you had a chance to watch it? What have you heard in the office?
I did watch it back, and I thought it was a very close fight. You know, I think Brad may have nicked it, but you know, they gave the result they gave. I thought one of the judges was a bit severe on it, but it was a good fight, and Brad can come back from that. Don't worry about that. He's a good fighter, Brad. You know, when you look at him, I can bang on about he had no amateur experience and so forth. He will come back from that, and we'll push for a rematch.
Okay.
That's what we'll do. You know, that's what we have to do. And but there were some good fights on the card, weren't there? Some of the guys looked really, really good. I was really pleased with them. Old Esso. He was just fabulous. He's a good fighter.
Well, let's talk about the welterweight division. Echo Esserman in a really good fight with Danny Bull, and then pulled out an incredible stoppage.
Yeah. Look, you know, when he came with us, I sort of looked and I thought to myself, you know, I'm right, but he pleasantly surprised me. I mean, he's a phenomenal, you know, puncher, and he's got a great engine in him. I mean, as soon as that bell goes, he gets down on it, and I love him. I think Echo's got a tremendous future in front of him.
Absolutely, and of course you added someone to your welterweight division. Just a small matter of European champ David Avanesyan, who's got now a bit of a following in the UK after a tremendous win over Josh Kelly earlier this year. What's the plans with David Avanesian?
Well, I'm pleased. I'm pleased at that great rating on Sky. They got to see him, so it's good exposure for him. So he's going to have fantastic exposure too on BT. And as I say, we're going to get him into some big fights and keep him busy. I'm pleased that to be working with Neil Marsh and with David.
Has he got potential, Dave?
No, I've only just got back, and we'll get stuck into that.
Okay, so we know in the welterweight division, of course, big name at the moment is Conor Benn. Has there been any contact from you guys about potentially doing that fight?
We want to do it. We've made him an offer, and we're waiting for him to come back. Haven't come back yet. Maybe I was hoping we might be able to discuss it at that lunch that he keeps postponing, but it's not happening.
What is the? When was the offer sent, Frank? Just about interest.
I think my offer sent it yesterday.
Okay, and we're speaking of midday today, Tuesday.
Yeah, so we haven't heard anything back, but it's quite a lucrative offer for him. So we'll see where it goes.
Okay, that would be a good fight, though, wouldn't it?
It's a great fight. Why not? Conor's a decent fighter, and that is a big fight. That's a good fight. One I certainly like to see.
And if that doesn't happen, of course, David Avanesian should be and is looking at, that world level. He's on that fringe.
Well, he is world level, isn't he? He's world level, and he will get a world title fight. I'll make sure that happens.
We know Terence Crawford, Errol Spence are the kings of the division at the moment. You've also got...
Well, they're great fighters. They are great fighters, but, he's not bad himself, is he? I mean, he can whack, that's for sure.
I was going to say, we've also got Ugas, who's just obviously got a win over Manny Pacquiao. He's got a world title. Yeah. And I know you've got good relations with PBC, so is that a potential fight, Avanesian and Ugas?
He's there. He just wants a world title fight, so it's up. As we've got some options, and hopefully they know one thing's for sure: the respective TV companies that these guys fight on know that with David that they're going to get some value for money. They know he's going to come to fight. Okay,
let's jump up a few divisions to the light heavyweight division. I want to talk about Mr. Tommy Fury, of course. Have we got an update on Tommy Fury and Jake Paul, Frank?
Well, at the moment we're working through the terms, and I'm hoping we're quite close, and I'm hoping we can get it over the line. It's a great fight for Tommy. It's a very lucrative fight for him. And what's he had now? 7 fights, I think he's had. Fighting a guy who's had a couple of fights. Financially, how can you not turn that down? I think he wins it, but it's it's captured everybody's imagination now. It's all that we're talking about out in the States. So I'm quite sure. Hopefully, we'll get it up, finish it off this week. But that come, then we can move forward.
Are we looking at sometime in December?
It will be it'll be sort of late November, December.
Right, that's great news. So November 6th, you've got Zach Parker out against Marcus Morrison in a really good fight. Obviously, that will lead into Canelo v Plant on Box Office that night.
Yeah, it's a great night, isn't it? Super middleweight division. Don't get no better. They got the number one, and he's fighting the guy who, with Zach, he's fighting the guy who took Eubanks to the decision. So that's going to be a nice little bit of a yardstick there to see what's what with him, and obviously the fight between Canelo and Plant I think it's going to be a really good fight. I think it's a well-matched fight.
Definitely. Yeah, it seems like you've got a really good thing going on with Neil Marsh, obviously, who manages Zach and David Avanesian.
Yeah.
These two of these guys now, Zach Parker and David Avanesian, really at the forefront of your company.
He's done a good job as a manager with those fighters, Neil. He's done an excellent job with them. And Zach Parker, as I mentioned before, he's a bit under the radar, but now he's getting some serious exposure, and we're pushing forward. He's number one, and they're all again. There's going to be a position where, after the Canelo fight, Canelo and Plant, there are going to be some mandatories due sometime, and he's in a position to be one of those mandatories.
Yep. So November 6th, we're back in Birmingham. Any more November shows, please, Frank? We've got.
We're going to go Prospect show on November the 12th. And then we had a great, that Prospect show we did was a fantastic show, and hopefully this will be the same, so we'll be giving details on that and so forth, and letting everyone know what it is.
Who's headlining that?
I'll give you the heads up on that later on. Actually, who was going to headline it got injured, so it'd be a decent show.
Well, that's it from me today, Frank. Is there anything you'd like to add before we close off?
No, I'd just like to thank all the fans for getting behind Tyson. The weekend he was, he did Britain proud, he did himself proud, us proud. He's certainly done himself proud, and I look forward to him seeing him fight again in the future.
Definitely. Okay, Frank Warren, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. You've got a bit of a break in terms of shows for the rest of this month.
Yeah, we've got nothing till November the 4th.
6.
6, just testing. I'll get there on the 4th. I'll be there early for it.
Well, I'll see you on the 4th. Thank you very much, Frank.
I'll see you when I'm looking at you.